Alrighty, good evening. Yes, it is evening, or it's probably afternoon someplace else. But welcome back, everybody. My power finally came back on, so I am doing so much better. So I thought that I would take just a few minutes to go over suicide and self-harm, which are included, which is the risk factors as well as the safety plan. This does not just have to be for the MFT license exam. This can be for anybody that works with their clients, working with families, and you just sometimes need to know how to identify whether if it's low risk, moderate risk, or high risk. This video is to help you better assess your clients, your families, your couples, whatever the case may be when it comes to crisis situations involving suicide and self-harm. So, low risk. This is at the bottom, right? It is just sometimes it can be thoughts about suicide. It can be maybe the person cutting themselves, very superficial cuts that they are doing. They don't have an active plan. They don't have any actions that they are going to take. They have positive factors, which is going to be those protective factors in their life that can also help them through these feelings that they may be having. So again, and then the interventions is going to be, you're going to follow up with your client. You're even on the exam, like I said, on the exam, look for answer responses that says certain things when it comes to low risk. I have a video that discusses that as well. But if there is like the passive suicidal ideation and it is very low risk, you're just going to engage in what? Safety planning. Helping that person, helping your client identify coping strategies and some more support resources that they can use during those moments. Now, just because it's low risk doesn't mean it should be ignored. You still need to address it. I work with a lot of my kids at the school. I hear it all the time. I just want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. I can't stand my life. I hate my life. And it may be, as passive as it may sound, it still needs to be addressed. It's not, you cannot ignore it. Okay, so now, moderate risk. This is, there are multiple factors in moderate risk. There could be substance use, mental illness, there could be some external stressors that your client might be struggling with. They might very low to moderate intent to act, and the thoughts can be just a slight little bit more intense than they are in the low risk factor. They don't have an means or an access to carry out the plan, but their thoughts are just a slight bit more intense than in the low risk factor, right? So, typically, when you assess during the moderate risk, it's like they can engage with you. They're able to talk to you, tell you, hey, this is what's going on, this is happening. And then you are going to be also still looking for some of those protective factors. You are going to create a safety plan, right? Do they have social support? Do they have access to contacting a crisis hotline or something of that manner? The safety plan should include those numbers, things for they can have someone to contact when they are feeling, they're having those thoughts. Do they want help? Do they want to seek treatment, right? Again, it's moderate. They don't have an immediate means or an access to carry out a plan. Again, this is not meant to be ignored. Just because they said they don't have an immediate means or an intent to carry it out, you still need to assess, you still need to address it. Make sure that your client is going to be safe. Now, these are the interventions. Like I said, you're going to develop a safety plan, right? And what's included in the safety plan? Warning signs. Hey, when those thoughts are starting to come, what are the warning signs of it? Coping strategies. If you're going to be alone, what are you going to do when you are alone? your social circle. Who do you have that you can reach out to? Do you need to go spend time with more people? During the weekends when you're more by yourself, what can you do to get out, as a distraction? Go out into the community, meet some new people or things of that nature. So, and then in this area, you might have to increase the frequency of sessions, either weekly or bi weekly, however it needs to be. I had a client one day that was heavily had a very moderate, and that week I'm like, hey, I'm doing check-ins with you every other day, then we do a full session, light check-ins, full sessions, just to make sure that he was going to be stable, and I also was working with the family at the exact same time. Just like I just said, you're going to be doing the check-ins, calls, messages between appointments, just to make sure that everything is going okay. And then at the same time, I always made sure, who do you have to talk to? Who do you have to reach out to? Can you go hang out with some family, go hang out with some friends, and just have someone that's going to be there for you. Utilize it as a distraction, right? Okay, now this is the high risk. This is where we are looking at that client having a specific plan, and that specific plan means that they have access to what? Lethal means. Firearms, medication, dangerous places that they can possibly go in order to harm themselves or to harm or to physically hurt themselves, right? They're impulsive, or they could be actively in like a severe, mental psychosis. Severe depression are also part of being high risk. Substance use, limited or absence of having anybody that you can reach out to and talk to during those times. But then one of the biggest things is, if that client is unwilling to engage in any therapeutic support that you are giving them, such as that safety plan, what are going to be some of those interventions that you are going to have to do, right? You're going to have to ensure that that client is going to be kept safe by any means necessary. If that has to be calling 911, if it's imminent danger and they cannot be safe by themselves or left alone, you're going to have to call 911. And voluntary hospitalization, that's that psychiatric hospitalization, right? Partial hospitalizations programs to help them in order for them to be safe, right? These are those moments where it's like you this cannot be ignored. Even when it's low risk, moderate risk, you are not going to ignore it. You are going to assess and address it. But for high risk situations, assess, address, and then you're going to have to take action. You got to take action you got to take immediate action behind that. The other actions behind low risk and moderate risk is going to look so differently from what a high risk situation when it comes to suicidal ideation is going to look like. Now, when it comes to virtual, when you're doing virtual sessions with your clients, you should know the exact location of where that person lives. That is important. That is a must. I work virtually with my clients. I have my clients' addresses. When I need to use their addresses, if need be, I will be using it. Protecting the client is the first thing. It is highly important. Now, these are some of the key terms. Suicidal ideation. This is what it is. Thoughts of wanting to die or kill oneself. And it can go from what? Low, moderate to high risk, right? The intent. That is the seriousness behind the thoughts. The plan is the method, it is the strategy, and it is very specific, right? If you have a plan, that is a very increased risk for suicidal ideation. Lethal means is the substances or what they are going to use in order to cause death. Protective factors. This is relationships, family, friends, church. I'm trying to think of other things. Your social circles, what can you do? socially that's there for you other than your family and friends. There's a lot of other things that people are involved in. They're a part of their social circle, right? And then, of course, like I mentioned, you have church, you have your spiritual, and you have your cultural beliefs. Those are protective factors, as well as the willingness to want help and support. Okay? Now, here are some of the risk factors that we talk about, right? That's mental illness, depression, bipolar, right? Can also lead to some of those suicidal thoughts that one may be having. Substance use, previous attempts puts you at a higher risk for another attempt. Trauma or abuse, right? Social isolation. Like, if I am so really like big on, you need somebody else, right? We all need somebody else, especially for moments like these, right? Safety plans, they have to be personalized. They have to be collaborative. This is for the safety of your client. Safety first. You're always going to want to put the client first. We are reducing the access to the means, right? And we're decreasing some of those thoughts that our clients are having, okay? Now, hospitalization, voluntary or involuntary. Voluntary is they have a specific plan. They've given you the specific plan that they have. You've told them, I need to call 911. This is what we're doing. They're going to go voluntary. They're not going to resist you. They're not going to tell you no. They're not going to tell you, I don't want to do that. I don't need your help. That's voluntary. Involuntary is when the client is refusing. They will not go. They do not want to agree to go or give consent. You are going to have to involuntarily hospitalize them. I don't need your consent if I feel like you are going to be a danger to yourself. I don't need your consent. It's imminent danger. I have to do what I need to do in order to protect my client. Imminent risk. This is where the client is going to be likely to attempt suicide very soon. Minutes, hours, or days. In a specific plan, a person might be like, I'm going to do it on Tuesday, 3 o'clock at this place. Imminent risk. They have an exact location, they have an exact time, and they tell you how they are going to do it. Immediate action. It requires immediate action to protect the client. Like I said, low risk and moderate risk. The action behind those two are going to be so much different when it comes to high risk. I hope this made sense to each and every one of you who are practicing within this field, whether if you are an LMFT, MFT, LAMFT, LPC, LCPC, LSW, LCSW. This video is for all of my clinicians around the world, not just our LMFTs. I'm hoping that this video gives you just a little bit clarity on how you can best work with your client during these moments. Now, this video is meant for educational purposes, but it is quite like just slightly brief on the top. It's not like in depth with how you are going to work with a suicidal client. But this is kind of like just superficial on the top. Just wanted to give you just a little bit of basis of suicide ideation and working with clients with self-harm. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave me a message. Please leave me a comment, but also like, subscribe, and share this video to help other clinicians around the world.